Okay, so you should have gotten that notification that we're recording. And let's dive in. So like I said, we're kicking off today a new 7-8 week session, Windows to Wealth, where we're really going to spend our time exploring ways to go beyond traditional real estate channels. Okay, we're going to start today talking about the platform known as Revenos. Revenos in and of itself is relatively new, just launched during EXPCon in October, but many of the components of Revenos are not new. But there's a lot of growth, a lot of change, and a lot of interesting things happening there, especially since the last time I trained on some of the certification programs, it's been about a year. So a lot of new things to go over and share. Next week, we're going to really spend time talking about revenue share, helping you to understand what it is, how it works, how it benefits you, and to give you some confidence that you can turn around and have conversations if you choose to, if this is something that interests you, to talk with other agents about the value proposition of the brokerage. So many agents that I talk to have inhibitions that prevent them from even starting those conversations. So my goal is to help remove some of those and replace them with some confidence and some tools. Okay. No training on Wednesday. I actually am committed to a coaching certification class myself. We'll resume on the 25th, and we're going to talk about ways that you can step either within your brokerage or even beyond your brokerage to leverage what's happening in your world to build your personal referral network. And I hope to be able to, at that point, start to bring in some other voices that you can really hear from to get some success stories, give you some ideas and strategies for ways you can implement and expand your own referral network. Okay. And then February, we're going to totally pivot and dive really deep into the investor world, whether you want to identify investor clients and build those relationships, or perhaps you've thought about wanting to step into the investor market and become a real estate investor yourself. We're going to hear from agents within our network with strategies and best practices to help you, stick your toe in that water, if you will. So now we're going to dive into Revenos. Remember, just as a quick reminder, that if you can't attend the full session today, or if you need to go back and review anything, we make these videos available to you in two ways, in Dropbox and also on the YouTube channel. And then I do send out periodic reminders throughout the series, just to let you know either that videos have been uploaded or maybe to provide you with additional tools, answer follow-up questions. So if you'd like to get on that email distribution for the Windows to Wealth series, if you could do me a favor and just go ahead and drop your email into the chat, I'll pick those all up after we conclude today, and we'll get that email distribution started. So what is Revenos? Revenos is something that was launched, like I said, by EXP in the fourth quarter of 2022, designed to sort of become an umbrella that would encompass multiple programs where EXP is looking to identify sources of business and then push out those sources of business to its agent population. Okay, so always looking to add value to the agent's experience, giving you ways to earn more money. There are 6 programs that are specifically included here, and I'm going to kind of throw in a 7th one at the end. We'll leave that as a mystery when we get to it, which may or may not fall under Revenos. It's so new that it's still not really clear whether it's going to fall under this umbrella or not. And it does operate a little bit differently. So we'll talk about that as we get to the end of the hour. My goal in sharing what I know about these programs, what I've learned about these programs, you're not going to be an expert in all of these by the end of this session, but hopefully you will understand what each of them is, enough to know whether it interests you to pursue it further. Each of them involves training and time, energy, and commitment on your part to get certified. So I want to make sure that you know what each entails, what the time commitment is, in some cases, what the commission arrangement is, so that you can decide where you want to spend your time. This is not me telling you go out and get certified on all 6 of these things. It's you identifying what you think might work well and complement things that you're already doing in your business. Okay. One really good thing as we talk about these 6 platforms is that, as I said, there is training that's required on all of them. As of EXPCon in October, the messaging was that EXP was going to begin charging a fee for the training. But I'm really pleased to say that they have not implemented the fee yet. And there is a new training schedule that's out for the first quarter. So when we talk about these programs and I guide you, where to go if you want to get going on this training, take advantage of that, because I'm not sure how long into the future these trainings and certifications will continue to be available to the agents at no cost. Okay. So let me just share with you a couple of tools as we get started that are going to help you dig deeper if any of these programs are of interest to you. The first one I want to make sure that you know about is the Revenos website. Not only does this sort of lead you down all paths of these programs that we're going to talk about, so here's the website here, but it also is going to give you access to the public-facing website so that you'll be able to see what the public sees for any of these offerings and services. Okay, so that's revenos.com. Another really important tool with any of these certifications is going to be Workplace. If you aren't spending time on Workplace, I urge you to invest a little bit of energy into this tool and leverage it as a really good source of information and education. Okay. Right now, you'll see I'm in Workplace and I've located the Revenos work group. Okay. All you have to do is when you're in Workplace, search by Revenos and you'll get to the EXP Revenos group. This is an open group, but you can go ahead and join. Anytime you join a group in Workplace, when you find a group that you want to join, you can click that join button, very similar to Facebook, right? To Meta. The goal of joining is that when new or significant announcements are made relative to that program or platform, you're going to get notification and it'll show up in your feed. Okay. The other really great thing about each of these Workplace groups is that you will typically find pinned posts. Pinned posts are going to work in Workplace just like they do in Facebook. This is going to be that sort of most important information that the administrator of this group wants to make sure stays top of mind and in front of you before any of the ongoing communication, daily question and answers that might happen in that particular space. Okay. So in this case, you could see with Revenos, there's one pinned post at the top. I encourage you to, like I said, go to this group and join it if any of these programs sort of are speaking to you. One of the things that you can get to from this pinned post, I clicked on see more. One of the things that you could get to is the Google Calendar. Like I said, the training calendar for all of these Revenos programs has been really opened up for the first quarter of 23. If you think about where EXP was a year ago, sometimes they were only able to offer maybe one module a month. Then maybe they got a little bit better and offered one module a week. But even at that pace, it could still take you 1 to 3 months or longer to get a certification because the calendar just didn't jive up with yours. Okay. Now the offerings are more frequent. They're more condensed. So you can move much more quickly to get a certification. This is not the same training calendar that's broadly available to everybody with the hours and hours of training in EXP University. So if you want to know specifically about the Revenos training, make sure that you go to Workplace and get to that Google Calendar link so that you can see the training here. Okay. Really important tool. The other thing that I want to mention, let's go back to my slide, is that there are a couple of places where you are able to go and receive the training and then track your training. I think 2 of the programs that we're going to talk about today involve on-demand training, which I love because you do it at your pace, your time, don't have to worry about the calendar. Anytime that you see live training, it's either going to be available by Zoom, and the Zoom link will be embedded right in that training class on the calendar, or you can go into EXP World. And I'm going to assume that nobody needs direction on how to do that. The on-demand training and also your attendance at those trainings are all tracked in a program. Sometimes you'll see it referred to as MindFlash. Sometimes you'll see it referred to as TrackStar. Okay. It is more appropriately called TrackStar. And I just want to make sure everybody's muted if you could. And let me show you what TrackStar looks like. Okay. I'll make this slide deck available in the Dropbox afterwards, so you'll be able to get to this link. And the way that you manage it, when you get to the login, you're going to want to log in with your EXP passport. And then you can simply enter your EXP email address and your credentials. Same thing that you would use to get into EXP World, Enterprise. And it'll look something like this, okay? So it's going to show you all of the trainings that you're invited to, all of the trainings that are completed, okay? So where you are when things are in progress and where things are done. So when you attend a training, you don't have to worry about registering in advance for EXP World. You do want to follow up and make sure that your attendance gets recorded and you're getting credit for it here. Okay, this is where you would go to check on that. Once you've completed all of the modules, and we'll talk about what that means for each of the different certifications, the actual issuance of the certification should be automatic. If it's not, go back to one of those other important tools I told you about, and that's Workplace, to communicate with the people in EXP who are managing those programs, who can make sure that your certification is issued, that you are plugged into all of the marketing and resources that you can then start either identifying yourself as certified in these programs or receiving leads, importantly, from these programs. Okay? So that's just some general sort of housekeeping, important things that you want to make sure that you're making note of, saving to your favorites, and tapping into within the EXP community. Okay, now let's get started. Let's talk about the first one on tap is Making It Rain. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time with Making It Rain. It falls under the Revenos platform, but it involves KV Core. So if you've attended the KV Core training sessions, you probably already know a lot about this program, or I could always guide you back to the YouTube channel to learn more about it. Making It Rain is EXP's lead gen program that taps into KV Core. So you absolutely have to be tied into KV Core, ready to go to receive leads, or this program won't work. The interesting thing about Making It Rain in comparison to the other programs is that you will pay to subscribe to the service for the leads that you receive. So payment goes to EXP on a monthly basis. It's simply like a pay-per-click, a Google ad campaign, and you are paying for the leads, regardless of the conversion of those leads, okay? That's going to be a little bit different from what we see with some of the other certification programs. Once you get a lead converted to client, to contract, to close, then any of the fees that you're paying to EXP, to your team, are all going to remain in line with what they would as in a traditional transaction. There's no additional fee or percentage that goes to EXP. If you're still working towards your cap, that same 20% percentage is going to apply to go towards your cap. Same team agreement split. There's no additional fee on the close that goes to EXP. Okay. If you want to pursue this program, be prepared to invest about 2 hours of your time, all pre-recorded, go at your own pace. This is where you learn about the program. And then ultimately, kind of the way I like to think of it is like one of those rides at Disney World. You wait in line, you go through the ride, and then when you come out, you're in the store, right, where they want you to buy. It's going to be the same kind of idea when you go through Making It Rain. You're going to understand what these programs are. And then at the conclusion, hopefully, the idea is that you feel that there's value there, an opportunity there, and that you want to go ahead and register for the platform. Okay.
Can I ask a question about that real quick?
Absolutely.
Is there any difference between using Making It Rain and just directly going to Google and setting up a PPC campaign?
That's a very good question. What some of the things that I like about the Making It Rain platform is that, number one, you're doing it within EXP. So they are building out functionality that will automatically draw leads into KV Core. So the idea is that you're trying to best leverage all of these tools that the brokerage is making available to you. You also get the support of the EXP staff that manage the program. So if you feel that your campaign is not performing to its fullest, or you need to make a change, there's opportunity to very easily and quickly speak with someone in that area to get that support. If you are not someone who is well-versed or has a lot of background in how these campaigns are built or managed, then I really encourage, at least as a starting point, to consider making it rain, and to let those EXP resources help educate you and get you through maybe the deepest part of the learning curve. And then maybe you feel like you've learned enough to take the training wheels off and do it on your own. You're paying the fee and you're setting the budget with EXP, and it's a turn on, turn off platform, meaning you're not buying into a 3, 6, 12-month subscription. If you do it for a month or two and decide, maybe somebody's going on maternity leave or taking an extended vacation, or has illness, or just hits the winter months when times are lean and this is the program that they need to pull back on a little bit. So I would never recommend that, but whatever the case may be, you're not locked in like you might be with some other third-party programs. So I think there's a lot of flexibility and opportunity there, especially, like I said, if you're really early on in the learning curve. Hope that helps answer your question, Rami.
It does, thank you.
Sure.
Do you have any recommendations on budget? Like, I'm thinking about doing 1,000, 2,000 a month for like 6 months to a year just to try it out.
I would start out very small. I would go with the smallest that you can, which is, I think, a $250 or $350 a month investment. And that's typically going to get you 3 towns. So if you're coming in as an individual agent, you're going to choose 3 towns, and Making It Rain is going to build the platform around those towns. And the goal is to get somewhere in the neighborhood of, I think it's around 50 clicks, 50 leads per month. But understand that with Making It Rain, there is a very extended nurture period. Okay, so you're typically going to be looking at, on the low end, probably a 9-month nurture, but really more like a 12 to 18-month nurture. So to jump in and say, I'm going to spend $1,000 a month and have to prepare that I might not really start to see some great traction and results for possibly 12 months, I would say that would be too much too soon. I would say try on the small end, leverage KV Core, make sure that you're comfortable there, and that you have a good process for managing that platform, managing your CRM, monitoring your campaigns and your client engagement. And then if you're finding success and traction sooner rather than later, then you go back to them and expand. That would be my recommendation, but start out small. Okay.
I have a question.
Sure.
Okay. So you have Making It Rain, you have a number of leads. You said generally the nurture period is 9 to 12 months or 6 to 9 months, whatever it is. That being said, when you have the lead, can't you still set them up in your KV Core on campaigns and, to send them properties? I can't think of the word right now. I'm sorry.
Nope, absolutely. You can set them up on campaigns so that you're communicating with them on a regular basis. You can set them up on property alerts.
Yes.
But yep, absolutely. You're on the right track there, Lynette. But what I encourage you to recognize, one of the things that we did, and I'm sure I did share this with some of you who did the KV Core training, is that within my team, we built an 18-month campaign because we knew that a 12-month campaign was just going to fall a little bit too short. But in that 18-month campaign, we really put in a significant amount of sort of task-driven components to remind you to do the personal work with each of the clients that were coming in under this program, that you can't just sit back and let the automation do everything, because that will not be enough to get that client. I would say 99 times out of 100, that will just fall short of getting that client any further along in your funnel or in their transaction journey with you. So you do want to make sure that you're engaged and monitoring their interaction, their engagement in the campaign and in the communication that you're sending them. Hope that answers that question. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, perfect. I understand. Thank you.
Good. Yeah, of course. So when it comes to making it rain, if you have an interest in this platform, then some of the places that I really urge you to get started are to make sure you can first go to this website. It's makingitrain.exprealty.com. You also want to find the group in Workplace. So you simply, you can go up to Workplace and just start typing Making It Rain and find the group. Okay. If you aren't already joined, you're going to see this little join button on the right-hand side. And this is a great resource. Again, if you're just still trying to figure out which of these, if any, pertains to you in the Revenos world, go to the Workplace group and scroll through the chat. Read what people are saying, hear about their experience, ask some questions yourself to get comfortable with whether it's an investment of your time, effort, or dollar that you want to make. Okay. So that's kind of the Making It Rain platform, really high level overview. I can, like I said, direct you back to the more in-depth training that really talks about how it functions in conjunction with KV Core and how the dashboard looks, what the build process looks like when you're setting it up with Making It Rain with the EXP folks. Like I said, I can direct you back to. The next one, if we keep moving through this Revenos umbrella, the next platform that I want to talk about is Express Offers. Is anybody here certified in Express Offers? Terrific, Rami. So maybe if you have any thoughts or feedback, please feel free to jump in with that. The idea with Express Offers is that you can pursue this certification with EXP, and at the end of it, obtain a designation or a certification within EXP that expands your tool belt when you're working with your sellers. Okay. If you have sellers that need a quick close, if you have sellers that need a cash close, if you have sellers that are disinterested or completely discouraged at the thought of either having to stage or prep a house for showings, to the public. If you have a seller that knows that there's a renovation or a repair that is hindering them from getting to a sale, these components could be put together, could make Express Offers a very attractive option for that seller. It's not for everybody, but the most important thing that I can express to you is that it's a tool in your tool belt that gives you credibility with your sellers, even if you ultimately go the route of a traditional deal. So if you start out in the conversation and say, well, this is one of the things I'd like to talk about with you, it doesn't have to go that route. But the point is, you can never have that conversation and describe this tool and introduce this tool to the mix if you don't first get the certification. Okay, let's take a look. I want to show you what the public-facing website looks like. Let's see here. So the idea is that you're trying to appeal to the people who are looking for something fast, right? The idea is fast and cash. And of course, I like the hassle-free. That's going to appeal to a lot of people, I think in particular coming out of COVID. Again, somebody entertaining this conversation doesn't require that it ultimately conclude in this type of transaction. But this is the branding that the brokerage, that EXP puts out there. And this is the branding and tool set that you can leverage when you are certified. Okay. The opportunity for you is that if you do get that certification, not only can you introduce this at the point of list when you're working with the sellers, but if you are already in the investor space, you can bring institutional buyers, investors into this platform. And anytime those institutional buyers close on a transaction, you have the opportunity to receive a fee. I think it's a small fee. I want to say it's maybe $250. Don't quote me on that. But anytime that the buyer comes in and closes, you can receive a fee. You also have the opportunity, if the investor comes in with the intention of renovating and flipping the property, you have the opportunity to secure the relist. It typically will be at a reduced commission, so 1.5% on the relist. And then any future transactions that might come out from this seller, if they turn around and purchase, if they turn around and rent, those are entirely yours, okay? And this is a client of yours. The seller is a client of yours moving forward. The seller pays the initial listing commission, okay? So that's something that you negotiate with the seller. And if the property is ultimately purchased through express offers by an iBuyer, so by an institutional investor, then there is typically no buy commission on the deal. So you're just receiving the list commission on the deal, okay? You do have to go through the training course. And this, again, just like Making It Rain, is on demand. It's going to take about 6 hours of your time, but you can do it at your time in the evenings at no cost. So again, something important and attractive to consider, that if you just wanted to be able to add this to your tool belt and describe this as an option for your sellers, you're talking about a 6-hour investment of your time. And then you get to that finish line, get that certification, and can start marketing yourself as an expert in this program. Okay? Does that make sense? Any questions on that concept? Sort of high level. Again, just trying to introduce you to these programs. So if you wanted to learn more, this is where you want to go. First and foremost, back to Workplace. In Workplace, the best group I can advise you to hit is Express Offers Community. So find that group, make sure that you join, and take a look at the pinned posts again, okay? Beyond Workplace, once you get through the training, the Mind Flash training, and it's going to be that same website that I directed you to before, where we logged in and you took a look at, where all of your training courses are. When you go ahead and sign up for Express Offers, it'll track everything that you're doing here, okay? Once you get beyond that and you have your certification, you will have access to a whole separate platform. So this is not something that you can go and find right now if you're not certified. But when you are, you gain access to a platform where you can take a look at the property that your seller has to offer. And you can take a look at the buyers, the institutional buyers that have what are called buy boxes listed here on this platform, which is essentially kind of what they're looking for. The markets that they're looking to enter, the price points, consideration to, what their max renovation budget might be. And your purpose in being on that platform is to see if you can find a potential match. And if you think there are potential matches out there, you can submit the property through Express Offers and hope to receive offers back from the iBuyers. If you don't receive offers, or if you receive offers and the seller rejects them, then you simply move on and you don't close through Express Offers. Then you take a look at that traditional sale path. Okay? So I think, again, for what's required from you up front, there's tremendous opportunity, if nothing else, to really expand on the conversation that you have with your clients. If you wanted to remain engaged and educated on all of the new developments with Express Offers, not only could you go into Workplace, but they do offer supplemental training multiple times a month. I think for them it's weekly and via Zoom. So again, just find that Revenos calendar of trainings and make sure that you bookmark it so that you can go back to it regularly, pull up. So here, for example, is Express Offers. I can pull up this training on the 19th and see the Zoom link is right there embedded in the training session. Okay. So just another tool and resource available to you with EXP. Okay. Any questions on that? Have you had any experience, Rami, if I could ask, either just talking with sellers or actually maybe working a seller through an Express Offers sale? He might be on a call. Okay, so if you are interested in pursuing that, I encourage you, for the amount of effort it takes on your part, something that you should learn more about. Okay. The next two programs that I want to talk to you about are relocation and affinity. They're similar, not exactly the same, but we're going to kind of talk about them hand in hand. Relocation is exactly what you might think it is. So EXP has created a department of sorts where EXP is working with corporate clients to create a value proposition to help those corporations who need to move their people, their employees, whether they are moving into real estate, out of real estate, or potentially have a buy and a sale. The value proposition is to extend beyond just the components of what you think about when you think of a traditional buy or sell, to include almost like a door-to-door concierge service of sorts. Okay, so if you're interested in relocation, understand that there's going to be a couple of things in play. Not only will you be working with that personal home buyer or home seller as they're working through the stress, the added stress of a corporate, a job relocation, but you're also going to be managing the expectations of the corporate client as well, and what that corporate client expects in terms of service, in terms of support, you should be providing to their employee to help minimize and reduce the stress of that transaction wherever possible. With EXP relocation, again, great opportunity because right now you can get onto the training without paying a fee, but there is a significant time investment. You're looking at 4 modules. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 hours each. So it's a total of a 12-hour investment. But the good thing is you can take the modules at different times. So if you jump in and, this week can get module 2 on your calendar and then just have to circle back later and get to module 1, no problem. As long as you complete all 4, you'll get certified. They don't have to go in order. And they're designed to educate you not only on that dynamic, like I said, of managing both the corporate client and the personal client, but also of understanding just what all of these services will entail and what will be expected of you. Okay. There's no pre-registration required on these training classes. So the good thing is that if it's something that you're just available to show up and do, that's great. Just make sure that you're present for the entire class because attendance is taken. Okay. And those classes are offered in EXP World. If you take a look, here is again that January calendar. The timing of our training today is really very timely because so many of these classes are being offered in January and February. So I think out of the 6 programs that we're talking about, technically you could be certified in, I believe, 5 of them by the end of February, or possibly even by the end of January, if you really wanted to be super zealous about it. But the point is that they're just so much more available and accessible than they have been previously. So at a time where your calendar might be a little quieter or a little slower, take advantage and layer in some of these trainings if these programs might speak to you. I just want to show you, I mentioned no cost for the training, and there's also no cost to receive the leads. But I'm adding some additional information here because I personally am not relocation certified, but I pay very close attention to workplace, to the chats, to the communication, to the feedback. And so one of the things that you just want to make sure that you understand up front, oftentimes we're maybe not engaged enough to read something when it's in front of us and only read it later when we take a look at our pocketbook. So you want to make sure that when you sign up to take on a new relocation client, that you understand the fee components that are involved, because you're looking at 3 different fees typically with relocation and affinity. You're looking at the fee that you have to pay to the relocation company, which can hover between 35 and 40%. I see 38% most frequently. You're also going to pay your split to EXP. And what I have found is that it appears that in all cases, that's regardless of where you are in your cap. Okay. So remember, you are not paying any type of subscription. You're not paying anything up front to receive and work the lead. Okay. But if you get to the point where you're crossing the finish line with that client, at that point, the reload company and EXP is going to recoup some of the cost and expense that they've invested into building this program. Okay.
Question.
And most importantly, the lead is yours. Not the corporate lead, but the personal lead. So that personal buyer seller that you are helping becomes your lead for life without any further obligation should another transaction develop with that personal lead, not with the corporate lead, but with that personal lead. If you receive referrals from that personal lead, they're yours, not subject to these additional fees. Okay. And then you also are paying a relocation fee into the EXP reload department to help fund their staff. Okay. Does somebody have a question?
I did. So when you said it doesn't matter where you are, your cap, let's say you have you have already capped and you're technically at 100% with like 0% to EXP, 100% to you. After that, there's still a fee that you are paying EXP. Is that what you is that? I just want to make sure I understood that.
Yes. Yes. So let's say you are a full cap agent. You've paid your $16,000 to EXP. So if you were closing a traditional deal today, you would not pay 20% to EXP. You would pay a transaction fee. In this program, if today you closed a reload deal, having fully capped, doesn't matter. You're still going to pay the 20%. Okay. So again, some people get upset by that, but remember where you are. You're closing on a transaction where you've expended zero marketing dollars to secure that lead. So that's important. And then that lead getting to the finish line can turn around and produce new business for you. Again, without you having to invest in marketing dollars to try and capture people into your funnel. So there's value in that, value that you need to measure, whether that makes sense for your business. Okay. Along those same lines, before I show you a workplace a little bit for these two groups, I want to go over affinity. Affinity is a little bit more unknown. I have more information and sort of more intel on relocation than I do on affinity. The idea with both of these platforms is that EXP looks to continue to grow and establish new relationships with new vendors and clients to draw leads in. And at the same time, on the back end, they're looking to continue to further define and expand on the value proposition so that you as an agent see the opportunity, get the certification, and are ready to receive the leads. Affinity, unlike relocation, where it's very specific, corporate clients moving their employees. Okay, affinity is going to be a sort of corporate or client third-party relationship that EXP can identify and document outside of the relocation space. The biggest one that I see right now is a company called Home Story. Home Story is much more, I would say, like in the early stages. But if you think of something like a Zillow or a Realtor.com that puts themselves out there to attract home buyers and home sellers who are looking sort of for a concierge, hold my hand type of service that even extends beyond the realtor experience, Home Story is looking to deliver that. And so Home Story has contracted with EXP to provide leads, and in return, they've set the bar for what they want in a qualified agent. So not only do you have to be certified as an EXP affinity agent, but you have to demonstrate certain experience. You have to be a licensed agent for 2 years. You have to be full-time. So this can't be something that you do on the side. And you have to have closed 20 deals in the last 24 months to be considered to receive Home Story leads. So again, not only do you have to get affinity certified, then you have to sort of pass these additional smell tests, if you will, to become eligible to receive leads from Home Story. To get affinity certified. Yeah, sure.
I'm sorry, I need to raise my hand and stop being rude.
You're good. You jump right in.
So listen, are these certifications, are they forever? Do you have to get updates? Do you have to get recertified periodically?
That's a very good question, Lynette. As to date, the certification is a one-time thing. where once you're certified, you're certified. And I've even seen the brokerage take it so far as if there are changes or updates or sort of level ups, if you will, along the way, that oftentimes if you're already certified, you'll be grandfathered in for whatever training or time, energy, education investment you've previously made into the program. Having said that, because these programs continue to grow and develop constantly, I would say don't ever stop learning. Stay plugged into Workplace. Follow the additional training offerings that might give you the refresher or the update on what's new so that you don't miss out on opportunities to capture more leads. That would be my thought. Rami, you had a question?
Yeah, more of a statement than a question. I'm not EXP Affinity certified, but I am on Home Story. So I get leads, most of them are from Chase. Basically, Joe Smith walks into his local bank. I want to buy a house. The lender processes their application, and then I get a referral saying, if you're free in the next 10 minutes to talk to this Chase client, please say yes. And then I connect to them. Now, so far I've been connected to two. One of them is like, I don't know why I'm talking to you because my family friend is going to be your agent. But they are qualified. They do tell you the timeline that they're looking for. Pre-approval has been done. You just can't, you have to let them use that lender. You can't then say, okay, use my lender. So that's one
Yep.
restriction that they have.
Sure. So now are you getting those leads through EXP and Home Story, or you went directly to Home Story?
Through EXP.
Okay, terrific. All right, great. So that's good to know. Are you familiar with, because one of the things that I wanted to show you, well, let me just mention these other couple of points, and then I could show you a couple of these resources online for Affinity, relocation, and also for Home Story. So with Affinity, you're talking about a little bit less of a time commitment, 2 modules as opposed to 4, and about a total of 5 hours. But again, this has to be live training. Okay, so you do have to attend in person in EXP World. Okay, so now let's talk about where we can find these platforms in Workplace. So I want to go here to start. We already did express offers. So here you'll find in Workplace a group called Relo Affinity Ops Group. Okay, that's a group that you want to make sure that you join if either of these platforms is of interest to you. Remember that the pinned posts are going to be a tremendous source of information. If there's only one pinned post, you're going to see it right at the top of the feed. If there are multiple pinned posts, then you'll see this tab option for the pins here. Okay, so I always encourage you when you first join the group, go there first to sort of get brought up to speed. One of the things that I mentioned with Home Story is that as EXP continues to expand this relationship, they are looking to identify agents in very specific markets where they're seeing a greater need. Okay, and there are 2 New Jersey locations that as of right now, I've checked this a couple of times over the last several days. As of now, it doesn't appear that they have anyone assigned yet. EXP is looking for an agent in Mercer County to cover the Trenton area, and also in Ocean County to cover what's broadly being defined here as the Jersey Shore. So if you have an interest in receiving leads on this platform, and to Rami's point, it's very interesting that he says, I don't have the Affinity certification, but I can go in and receive these Home Story leads. Then by all means, head over to Workplace, go into the Relo Affinity Ops group and get more information. Okay, there is additional training that you need specifically on Home Story to be able to start receiving these leads. Okay, so it's important that you understand when that training is offered. I know there was a training that was offered in November, and I honestly don't know if I take a quick look at the calendar. I don't know if there were any dates off the top of my head that I recall in January or February. Okay, but if you go to that group, oh, here it is, on the 15th in February to qualify for Home Story referrals. Okay.
Yeah,
So again, Yes.
Sorry.
Hi, Rochelle.
How are you? Happy New Year.
How are you? Happy New Year.
I'm good. I'm confused. I guess maybe it's a question for Rami then. So with the home story, you don't have to go through Affinity to be part of home story. And with this class on February 15th, it's just for home story, right? Not the Affinity certification. Is that right?
Rami, did you have to get certified through Home Story?
I think he's
I don't know.
from.
Oh, he might be on a call. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
because he made it right. He made it sound like he's just home story, but not Affinity. I mean, I know his information. I
Yeah.
could always text him too, but I guess you don't, right? You don't have to be Affinity certified. At least I don't
Now
know. Maybe there's different
that
criteria too.
that could possibly be, I don't know about the timing of when he opted in with Home Story. Remember that Revenos was sort of just launched fourth quarter. So they
Okay.
are making changes, and this could potentially be one of those grandfathered areas that I'm describing. So from what I've read, the Affinity certification is a requirement, and then the additional Home Story training is a requirement. But it's very interesting what Rami's saying, that that may not be the case, but we just don't know if that's a matter of him being grandfathered or not. In
Gotcha.
either case, you're not paying upfront to receive the Affinity certification or to receive the Home Story leads. I will tell you with Home Story, again, from what I've read and researched, is that, to Rami's point too, you have to be able to take that call quickly and get on it very quickly. That is the expectation of Home Story. That's why they're looking for agents who are full-time, who are experienced, and who close a lot of transactions, because they don't want somebody who's going to not answer their phone, take a day or two to respond. They want to extend whatever client experience they've initiated and just have it feel seamless and value added to the customer. So that's something that if you have questions about that, make sure that you get those questions answered during the certification and education process, so that you don't put yourself in a position where you start getting leads and then it doesn't match up with your expectations. Did you have a question? Lynette, look at you raising your hand.
You can teach an old dog new tricks. Trust me. My question, I guess, is directed towards Rami. If you are getting the leads, and let's say Chase Bank, okay, you connect with the client, with the buyer. They understand they have to use Chase for their financing. And as he mentioned, they might say, well, my Uncle Joe is an agent and I want to use him. How do you move forward or communicate with that buyer at that point?
So I think that's a really good question, but I think it's going to defer to a couple of things, just like how that could happen maybe in a traditional transaction. When you receive a new client or a new lead in these programs, you're typically going to be signing a referral document. So if you're receiving a new client through Relo, through Affinity, through Home Story, and you're signing the referral agreement, it should specifically document, number one, what your agreement is to pay a referral back to EXP or to the third party. And it should also, at that point, you should be identifying your relationship with the client. So if you're entering into agency with the client, then there should be a mutual understanding that they're not just going to say, well, introduce, Uncle Joe into the mix down the road without having the respect and consideration for the fact that you've entered into agency with that client. But having said that, things do happen in the world that we're in today, and we know we're not immune to those types of scenarios. So, but I think for the most part, you do have the benefit with a lead, like a Home Story lead, you do have the benefit of some of that vetting, right, happening up front. That rather than you, like with Making It Rain, we're talking about receiving 50 leads a month, but some people are just curious and nothing more than curious. And other people might have a 6 to 12 month timeline, and it's your job as fast as you can, figure out who falls into what bucket, right? In those 50 leads a month. Here, at least when you're receiving a lead in from Home Story, you're looking at somebody who's already actively started the conversation with a lender or service provider because they're looking to buy a home. Okay, so that gives you tremendous leg up over maybe a program like Making It Rain, where you're doing a lot more up front to identify and qualify people, if that helps a little bit
really
to
like
give some
this.
perspective.
I
You
really
like-
like it. Yeah, I like it a lot.
So
When
are
somebody,
you using it?
no, this is the first time I hear about it.
Okay.
I'm definitely gonna get into it.
So I would definitely, just to remind you then, go back to the workplace group, to the Relo Affinity group, learn more about Home Story, get on the training. And then also, like I said, don't overlook this opportunity. If you service either of these areas, whether you're in Trenton or Jersey Shore, Ocean County, this could be a great opportunity for you to become the identified EXP agent to receive leads for those locations specifically, because they've identified there's a need there. Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you for all of the feedback, everybody. So again, I'm going to emphasize it's your responsibility going into these leads, working with these clients to know the compensation structure, right? There are going to be fees to the third party. There's going to be a split to EXP, and then there's going to be a fee. It can vary from transaction to transaction, and it can vary from third party client to third party client. So don't be surprised when you get paid. Understand upfront. Again, I emphasize as well that there's tremendous benefit in knowing that this personal buyer or seller that you receive can be your client going forward. Unlike maybe some other programs that you've seen, like OpCity comes to mind, for example, where any future business with that client, you still have an obligation to pay a referral back to OpCity. It doesn't work that way with these other platforms. Any other business that you procure after this initial transaction is yours. And you have the opportunity to, based on your experience with this client, continue to build out your pipeline for future referrals and transactions. Okay. So we talked about where to go in workplace. Again, when you are participating in these trainings, make sure that you are checking that you're getting credit for your attendance. Okay. If you wanted to understand what the public sees in these platforms, I always remind you, go to the Revenos site. So that's just revenos.com. And from there, now Affinity is still being built. That's here. But if I go here to relocation and I click on learn more, I'm going to get to see what the public would see. Okay. What a corporate client would see about the value proposition on behalf of the brokerage. Okay. So again, you're certified, then you're going to get to leverage this marketing and incorporate it into all of your personal branding as well. Okay. So again, tremendous opportunity there, all while the training is still free. A reminder too, that you can take the modules out of order. That's really beneficial because, like I said, if you miss one, it doesn't put you in a position to be discouraged and have to wait 6 months to start from step one again. Jump in where you can and get the modules under your belt. Okay. So that's sort of an overview of relocation and affinity. High level, there's a whole lot of detail there to get into, and you should get into the weeds and understand the compensation. I can't emphasize that enough. Do not allow yourself to be surprised. Okay. Now we're going to talk about, there are 2 platforms left in this Revenos umbrella. We're going to talk about REO and the Honors Military Network. So has anybody here, and just shout it out, has anybody worked in the REO space? Done anything with? Okay. So I'm going to tell you up front. So REO, real estate owned, you're talking about bank assets. Okay. So just like a few minutes ago, when we talked about relocation and we said, understand that it's going to be a unique dynamic where you're not just working with the personal client, but you've also got these expectations of the corporate client. Okay. When you get into the world of REO, you're talking about bank-owned assets. Bank-owned assets mean that you're working with the bank as your client. You're not dealing with a typical seller. Okay. You're oftentimes, almost always dealing with vacant properties, which come with additional responsibility that can be placed on the agent. And usually the contracts that happen, the negotiation that happens between the banks and the brokerages is going to happen at a high level. And you as an agent can't sign or enter into an REO listing agreement or referral agreement with a bank yourself on behalf of the brokerage. The brokerage has to sign off on that master listing agreement or referral agreement. Okay. So let's say you have a very good partnership with a local loan officer with a small community bank. I'm working with them a long time, and they say, wow, with the moratorium lifted following COVID, we're starting to see foreclosures happening again, and we're picking up some bank-owned assets. And our bank really needs a local agent to be able to list and market these properties for sale. Let's say that you respond, terrific, I'm REO certified. Let's talk about building a relationship here. I want to be your preferred agent to list and sell those properties on the bank's behalf. That's where you have to pull in the REO department and leverage your certification with eXp REO to be able to review the master listing agreement and any referral documents that have to be signed up front as you begin to take these listings. Okay. So there's a process that you have to go through to learn about how these properties have to be managed, and then make sure that you are properly pulling in corporate where it's needed to ensure that most importantly, that the insurance component, that your E&O is going to protect you properly in this type of unique transaction. Sarah, did you have a question?
Diana, yes. So the REO over here with eXp, it offers you a certification, correct? I'm very interested in this. I'm actually enrolled in a private coaching to do foreclosure, short sale, and sheriff sale. Now, I know I can get certified through NAR. Is this the same thing as NAR?
What I strongly encourage you to do to ensure that you don't, so you're working through NAR to be able to receive the certification, and you can certainly market that and leverage that to procure leads yourself. But you still want to receive the certification from within eXp for two reasons. Number one, you do not, because eXp as the brokerage requires that they sign those master listing documents, you do not want to find yourself in a position where they reject signing it because you haven't received the certification. And the other thing is, if you are certified through eXp, then the relationships that eXp is building with different banks, mortgage companies, financial institutions can benefit you as well through passing leads on to you to close under the umbrella of REO. Does that make sense? So there are multiple reasons where you absolutely, if you are working outside of eXp to receive training, education, or designation, then absolutely you should be, I believe, doing this in tandem.
Understood.
This is just like relocation. This is probably the most extensive time commitment. So again, you're looking at 4 modules, 3 hours each. So a total of 12 hours. And keep in mind too, I might not have mentioned previously, but that calendar that we were looking at, it's in real small letters in the bottom left-hand corner. That's Pacific time. Okay. So California time. So if you show up at 11 a.m., everybody's still sleeping out in California. That's 11 a.m. their time. But the other great thing, like I said, not only are there more classes offered, but they're being offered in a shorter turnaround time frame. So I think with REO, there's a module that's sort of launching, let me see, yes, the end of January. So within like the last week to 10 days of January, you can receive your full REO certification. Or if that time frame doesn't work, they're offering the full set of modules again the first week of March. So even if you can only pick up 1 or 2 now and then pick up the other, 1 or 2 beginning of March, it's still much better than the 3 to 6 months or longer that it might have taken someone previously to get certified. So go for it. It is important, I do emphasize when we talk about REO, because I do have several agents that I work with on my local team that are in the REO space. It is a unique service proposition for you as the agent. You are not working with that sort of warm and fuzzy buyer that's, let's hold the key at the end and be all joyful and or helping the seller move to their, upsizing, downsizing. That's a very personal and intimate journey. REO is going to be very different. And there are often times where you, as the local agent with boots on the ground, if you will, where you'll have access to the property and you'll take on certain management components of the property, not property management. We're not talking about, bringing in tenants and securing them and like getting the phone call when the toilet leaks or something, but we're talking about maintaining certain basic requirements to manage that vacant property while it is marketed and sold. Okay. So making sure that the electricity doesn't get turned off or the water doesn't get turned off, or that the landscaping is kept current so that the township doesn't come out and go crazy because the grass or the shrubs are, sort of unkept and out of control. Those types of things you can often expect when managing an REO property. In past circles, part of the big barrier to entry in this space was that the agent had to take on a lot of that upfront dollar investment and then wait for reimbursement from the banks. So the agent was funding the landscape or, paying the water bill today to make sure it doesn't get turned off tomorrow and then submitting for reimbursement. Now, I believe that there are components of EXP's platform that will help with that. So it doesn't put so much financial burden. If you look back at REO 5-10 years ago, and if you think back to like, say, the RE/MAX space, for example, an agent that was an expert in REO could easily have $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 out on the street spent on these properties waiting to get that money reimbursed back. Okay, so that's, I think, improved significantly. And I believe with the value with what EXP is offering to you as the agent, you're going to find avenues to help reduce that burden to you as the agent individually. But make sure, again, I can't stress enough, do the work ahead of time. Don't wait until you get the first asset or you get the first listing to figure out that I didn't know that this was what was involved. Really work to educate yourself up front. It can be a tremendously rewarding path. And I can tell you that if you are good at your job in this space, then you will be sought out by asset managers at the bank level and with these financial institutions that appreciate high level of organization, excellent communication, fast turnaround, and results. Getting the asset sold. Okay, so again, a lot of opportunity there to think about. Just make sure that you realize it's going to be very different in so many ways from the traditional buyer seller. So how would you go about learning more about this program? I go back to workplace. Once again, that's where so many roads lead. There's just so much information here. So the group that you're looking for is REO Mastermind. Again, you have to join this group. It is a closed group. You simply find it and join it. And they're pretty quick about administratively letting people in. You don't have to be certified to get into the group. Okay. Again, go to the pinned posts if you need them, and you'll learn more. You'll see sort of who the EXP players are from those pinned posts, and they are the right people to ask questions. Okay, so those pinned posts will help you figure out if I do have questions about what's involved here, or I need to talk to somebody, then pursue that and get those questions answered. Anything that you want to throw in there with REO? And so remember, this is with you getting certified to not only pursue your own leads with banks and financial institutions, but to also receive leads from all the efforts that EXP is taking. So to to the point we talked about earlier, Sarah.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is gonna be very worth it.
And then with that moratorium being lifted, it is a very real component of our business that after not seeing it for a couple of years, we're going to see slowly but surely more foreclosures, more pre-foreclosures, more short sales as well. Short sales don't fall into this arena. That's considered a traditional sale with just a short sale component that doesn't require any type of certification. But we are going to see more and more of those types of transactions as the pendulum sort of works its way back to the middle of the road.
Yes.
I wouldn't call it normal because I don't even think that word exists anymore, but back to maybe more typical scenarios. Okay. So the last thing that I want to mention is still, if Affinity is still a little bit new and some of these other programs are still really in development, the honors program is for certain. Like it was scheduled for a Q4 launch. And if you try to find like the public facing website right now on this program, you're not going to find it because it is still so new with so few details available. But it's something that if you have military in your background, if you yourself have military service, or if you are married to someone in the military, you have the opportunity to participate in the EXP military network. So the best thing that I can do is introduce you in particular for New Jersey. I actually got to hear a gentleman by the name of Rich Satowski speak at a broker meeting. I want to say it was in the fourth quarter of 2022, where he shared what he was doing in New Jersey to help grow the national EXP military network. So again, this is a network of agents with military background. You have to have experience in the military in order to be able to participate in this network. But then not only is it you participating in a sort of relocation and referral network, there are expanded resources that are available to you as a person of service that you can receive and leverage offered by EXP. Okay. So if you have any interest, if this is something that pertains to you, I encourage you to go and find the military network on Workplace and also to reach out to Rich. I don't know if you can, you might need the slide deck to be able to, but it's Sitkowski, excuse me, at exprealty.com. And you know what? I see his name is spelled one way and then his email different way, which I don't think he realized. So I'll go back and make sure that I find him correctly in the Workplace database. But the idea here is that here's just one more component and opportunity for you to take your background and your experience and find ways to not only get new business or refer business to other agents around the country or around the world, but also to tap into benefits that the brokerage that you are a part of that describes itself as agent-centric, that you can tap into these benefits that are being made available to you as a person who has served our country. So I really encourage you to tap in. On Workplace, you want to find the EXP Military Network group, and you want to go ahead and join. Now, I'm fairly certain that this group, like some of the other groups, you just have to click join and wait to be admitted. Don't have to have the certification. But I do believe in this case that you have to demonstrate the military background in order to be, admitted into the group, if you will. But if you have any issue or challenge there, I just want to make sure that you know that it exists. This is so new and so at the early stages that the sooner that you can get in for the markets that you serve, the greater the opportunity can be once this network starts to build out and take form to receive referrals, okay, and to leverage the network. I happen to have a husband and wife on my local team here that they are both military, and they've done like a killer job of building their own military referral network and finding those resources organically within the EXP network. And now they've started to tap in to leverage this more organized forum here. So really, again, just taking advantage of all that the brokerage is doing
We're
put
better than
opportunity
we've
in
ever
front of
been,
the
and I
agent.
think more than I've had
Okay.
ever, or in a long time. You're
Let's
still
see,
gonna
I'm
make
just, there we go. Okay, so that's sort of the umbrella of Revenos. And I'm just going to throw in there one last one because we're not quite sure. It's still another new one. Not quite sure whether we should just be describing this as part of Revenos or separate and distinct from Revenos. I've heard it referenced in both ways. So while it's not formally showing on the website for Revenos, I think it's important to just mention it here, especially because there's been a lot of anticipation about EXP luxury, to have a luxury division, to have a luxury brand within the brokerage. So many agents have felt for a long time that that was a really critical and sort of missing component compared to some other brokerages that have that luxury element to be able to take their high-end listings and market them in sort of a unique and elevated way. Okay. I'm just going to throw out what we know because there's really still a lot that we don't know that's in development, if you will, when it comes to luxury. You can find the luxury website. It's simply expluxury.com. This is the public facing website. Okay. So anyone that might be looking for a property, and here's part of the challenge. Right now, the definition of luxury within EXP space is a property for $1 million or more, list price. Well, $1 million list price in one county in New Jersey might get you 5,000 square foot home, but in another county in New Jersey might get you 500 square feet. So the challenge is finding the metrics that can appropriately define and segment luxury within our brokerage. So for right now, criteria seems to be this $1 million cutoff. What's great about the brand, about luxury, is that if you today took $1 million listing, you don't have to worry about being certified in luxury or doing anything more. Just the fact that you took that listing as an EXP agent, you're going to show up on this EXP luxury website and you will appear in search results. So if I were to go, here's like a search, if I did a search for all the properties in New Jersey that are with EXP luxury right now, I can tell you without even going through all of them, there are, I think, like 3 or 4 pages of properties, like this one on East Avenue. That's Don Hughes, a member of the Leaders Edge Network. There was another one, this one on Hominy Hill Road, Christian Giamanco's listing in Colts Neck. Okay, so these are people in our circle, right? That are finding their way into luxury simply because of the list price of the property. Okay. But there are things that you can do to actively pursue certification and become what EXP describes as an EXP luxury certified agent. If you are considering luxury, if you're at any point in your career where you are considering luxury, my personal recommendation to you would be, if you are new to the business, you should give yourself the benefit of a few years of experience with traditional everyday sales before you try to break into the luxury market, unless you have some related background. Maybe you came from mortgages, or maybe you came from title, or maybe you came from, maybe you were selling cars at the Mercedes dealership, right? But you have some skill set coming into real estate that will help you understand and communicate and work effectively with sort of the higher end client, right? The higher price point client. That's a skill set that you have to have your base skill set, your foundation, and then be able to build on that. So if you're brand new, I encourage you to don't, and especially too, once you see the cost of this too, I think it's designed to be a little bit prohibitive, because if everybody can do it, then maybe it loses some of its polish, if you will, some of its shininess. So if you
Diana?
wanted to, yes,
I'm sorry to cut you off. Who has
jump in.
if you go back, I just wanted
Oh,
to
here.
see, like, who has that building? Who has that listing?
Which one?
Yeah,
This one here
that
in
one.
Woodbridge?
Yes, yes.
Let's take a look.
Thank you. I'm supposed to list something looks just like it,
Oh,
and I
no.
need help. I need help because I've never listed the commercial before.
I don't know. So typically it'll identify let me see, it'll identify the agent here.
Oh. How can
What's
I get
what's
help?
considered, what's the kind of the threshold for luxury? Is it just $1 million? Because like
Yeah.
where I live, everything is $1 million. Like to me,
Yeah.
that's so like run of the mill. I don't consider that luxury, but I guess, is that what EXP considers luxury?
Yeah, that's what we were just talking about that a moment ago. It does, for now, that is the threshold, $1 million. And agreed, Rami, that even within the state, let alone around the country, $1 million is going to mean a million different things
Yeah.
on every pinpoint, right? But they're trying to identify sort of a starting point. So the good thing is, though, if you have a property that's listed for $1 million or more, it will automatically feed into that luxury website without you doing anything more than what you're currently doing. Okay, so it's going to give you another level of visibility without costing you any more of your marketing dollars. Okay. Having said that, if you want to be able to identify and certify in luxury, there are barriers to entry, if you will. So what I can refer you to is there is a post that came out. Let me see, this was pretty recent. So just before the Christmas holiday, December 19th, if you go into Workplace and you search the word luxury, there was an announcement that came through the EXP newsreel about the kickoff certification for luxury for 2023. Okay. Unlike the other programs, so everything else that we talked about today, you can go and get the training without spending any money. With the luxury training, you will pay up front to enroll. So if I were to click on this enroll today, or there's a link embedded within the within the news article, you'll pay at the moment that you enroll to participate in that training class. The training content will be made available the middle of the month. So even if you enroll today, I don't think you're going to have access to it for at least maybe another 10 days, but it will be on-demand content. The other really important thing to understand is that once you go through the training and you receive your EXP luxury certification, your training certification, you must then pay an annual fee to EXP to participate in EXP luxury. Okay. And that fee is $2,500 a year. Now, if you sit in that space where you are buying and selling properties for over $1 million, the $2,500 is probably not going to feel significant to you. Or maybe it will. I shouldn't assume so much. But the idea is that you're not looking to make this type of certification available to everybody. It's kind of more directed to the people who are very intentionally looking to operate in this space and who aren't going to shy away because of that cost to enter it. The value proposition, what EXP will offer, is also still being defined. So for you as an agent just taking $1 million listing, knowing that your listing is going to end up on EXP luxury site, where you can identify that as yet another marketing tool on behalf of your seller, that not only am I going to do this, this, and this, but it's also going to be identified as an EXP luxury property advertised here. Let me show you this website. Look at the space that it will occupy, the properties, its neighbors that it will share in that sort of look and feel and attraction. What's still, I think, being better defined is what that $2,500 component will get you. There will be additional marketing materials, marketing outlets, and more high-end resources to help you as a luxury agent market your properties. But I think that that's still being nailed down. So on the one hand, if this was something you really wanted to pursue, you have the opportunity to get the training at a discount. But on the other hand, I think the training's at a discount because some of these things are still being defined. Okay. If you want to pursue it, I can, if you even want to just make a mention in the chat, I would be happy to get you the names of some people that have worked on the luxury brand. I think Tina Call is probably one of the more visible out of the Carolinas, who has a significant organization within EXP. She has been one of the more dominant voices. And I think Jana Caudill, Caudill, also, I believe, out of the South, has also been very vocal. You're talking about individuals who have experience in the luxury, the high-end price point market, who have contributed and who are looking for continual feedback. So I can point you in a direction if you need questions answered. Okay. So that's that was the last one we were just going to kind of throw in there because we're not quite sure. It doesn't technically fall under Revenos, but I think this is a good time to mention that it exists. And if it's something that appeals to you, keep your eyes peeled for it. All right. Does anybody have any questions or comments or thoughts on any of the programs that we talked about today?
I have a question, but it might not, it's a little bit relatable to the luxury market. I sold a house last week, 1.2 million. Can I thank you so much. Yeah, it was a nice commission.
That's awesome. That's
Can I
awesome.
thank you so much. Can I leverage that? Can I do like a postcard and send it to that zip code and say sold, even though I was on the buyer side,
You were a party to the transaction, so you can identify it as a just sold. And you can even, if you think back a little bit to, if you go back to Mary Maloney, if you recall her training class, what Mary really likes to do is she'll take one property, right? So if you're an agent that doesn't have, maybe you don't have those 5 to 10 properties, right? To be able to do 5 to 10 different postcards, she'll take that one property. She'll identify 3 dynamo pictures from that property. So maybe one property is the front, one property might be that awesome pool, and another one might be that bathtub, right? Or the master bedroom or something, or the kitchen. And she'll build postcard campaign around that one property, giving the illusion that it's different properties every time that you send the postcard.
do you put the address of the property, or you just put a picture of it just sold with the price?
So what I would encourage you to do is actually, have you worked with Angela?
Yes,
Angela
yes.
Andrews before? So
Yeah, of course.
she just built in a product, a platform with this specific idea in mind. And she can show you, I think in most cases, when she designed the template for the postcard, she includes the street address of the property at a minimum, but I'm trying to think off the top of my head exactly what let me see if I can.
Because I don't want it to bite me back because I negotiated $100,000 down. And then like I don't want the sellers to go look online and be like, oh, she got it for $100,000 discount.
So I don't think I think when you talk about just sold, so what are some of the other components of the sale? Was it a quick sale? Was it?
Yeah, 3 weeks with Brian Hamowith. 3 weeks.
So I think certainly that would be one of your leading marketing factors, right? It was quick to close, enjoyed a fast settlement, would you like the same, have any interest in knowing, and then there's always the other, I have buyers who are interested in your market. There are so many things that you can do to sort of just pluck on the curiosity of people wanting to know. And again, it's not necessarily that they're hot and ready to sell,
Sure.
but maybe you just want a marketing piece that's going to kind of say, you know what, I'm going to call her. I'm curious about what my home is worth. I'm going to call her. How did she do it in 3 weeks?
Yeah, I like
what
that.
kind of resources does she have that that she could get it done so fast? So those are the kind of things. You're not trying to get to closing from your postcard. You're just trying to start the conversation from your postcards. So do what you can to drum up curiosity and interest and intrigue in your pieces. That's what I would say. And I think Angela has a really good campaign to help take that one property and get you, multiple weeks of traction out of it. So
I'm going to call her right after we hang up.
excellent. I'm sure she'll thank me.
She's amazing,
She's great.
and I had her one time do a postcard for me in Arabic, and she had to reset her whole system, and she did it for me.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. She's very talented and very patient.
Yeah, I was just worried she can't go back to English, but she was able to.
Oh, that's excellent. Well, good. You have to let me know. I'm curious if she's able to design something for you. Send it over. I would love to see what she does.
Sure.
So, awesome. All right,
And
great. Are
my
there any
second
other
question? Yeah,
Oh,
my
yes.
second question is for Rami. When can I come and door knock with you, your neighborhood?
I don't door knock, I don't cold call. But
You
you're
can just
welcome
walk
to,
with me. Just walk with me. It's
yeah,
okay.
that I'm happy to do.
Oh,
Door knocking and cold calling don't make me happy, and I have a strict rule not to do anything that doesn't make me happy.
That's a great rule. That's a great rule. That's like a poster on the ceiling kind of rule,
That includes laundry.
Well,
so how do you
that might
get
be a
your
little more
business, Rami?
problematic.
But I live in Marlboro. I'm big, as Rochelle will probably tell you, on open door policy. I throw a lot of parties at my house. So whether it's business or personal, like I'm always about, everyone's welcome to come over, enjoy the resort in the backyard, and go knock on doors.
That's excellent.
amazing.
But
That's excellent.
to be fair, I farm the shit out of my neighborhood. So good luck, because even if you door knock, everybody in the community, we have 210 homes in our development. They all look the same. It's like Mr. Rogers on fucking steroids, which I like. But I do a lot of events. I did a Thanksgiving turkey burn walkathon for the entire community. I did a Toys for Tots drive where everybody dropped off toys at our house. So I'm just telling you guys that as kind of ideas for you guys as well, just to farm your where you live.
Well, Rami, I want to do an event. That's something on my goals for 2023, but I don't know how to go by it by like having somebody sponsor me and help me out. How do you do your events? Do you get a sponsor? I want to do
No, I just pay for it myself. Like the turkey burn walkathon that we did, I bought bagels, coffee, and Baileys because it's a no judgment zone. If you want Baileys in your coffee at 9 a.m, so be it. I spent, call it $100 on that. I spent, $70-$80 on sending out postcards to the community to invite everybody. I'm already a part of like our private Facebook group. So you're spending, I spent maybe, I don't know, $100-$200. I have a listing, which is the smallest model in our community right now that's under contract for $1 million. And I got that because they came to my event.
Congratulations.
So
you don't use
no need to
sponsors
congratulate
at all?
me. I'm just doing my job. But yeah, everything, I'm very data driven. Every little thing that I do, it's all about ROI. My Zillow leads, my Facebook, Instagram, everything is about ROI. So like I spent $200 on bagels and coffee. I got $1 million listing that's closing in 29 days out of it. So ROI is there.
Yeah.
That's
Congratulations.
terrific. That's terrific. And what I love about what you're describing, Ronnie, is that when we talk about like in the context of these programs that we're talking about today, the idea is that you have as many pathways to your funnel as possible, right? To get as many people coming to you as possible. And so we talked about some of these programs where you're leveraging the brokerage and tapping into them. But then what about like what Rami's saying, tapping into his neighborhood, the 200 homes that he walks out his driveway and can see every single day. And it didn't take him thousands of dollars. Okay. So I think that's the biggest thing that you can do in any of this is open your mind and sort of reset your mindset. If you keep putting barriers in your mind why you can't do this program or can't do that program or couldn't possibly hold your own event, then the first thing I think my personal viewpoint is address your mindset. And then from there, be open to the ideas and imagination and, inspiration that you get from people like Rami and others. You sit and listen on those Tuesday calls, and I swear every day, every Tuesday, come back with, a new idea that I might completely redevelop in my mind, something different, but it inspired me to do something new and refreshing and energizing. So go for it. So that's the goal with today. Go ahead,
My
Ron.
favorite piece of advice that I received in 2022 was from John Cheplack. If you don't know him, watch his YouTube videos. He's amazing. The best way to get real estate business is to not talk about real estate only. So doing these other things that I've been doing has, I send out, as an example, I send out a newsletter to my database, and most of it, it's like, this is why you should use me to be your agent. After EXPCon, I sent out a message to the 12,000 people in my database saying, this is my favorite sushi restaurant in the area. And I have a listing coming up in a month and a half. It's a $3 million listing. And the guy's like, look, I've been getting your emails, but me and my wife just had an amazing date night. Thank you so much for the recommendation. So
Wow, awesome.
don't talk about real estate. Everybody knows what you do. It's in your signature. It's in your email address. Everybody knows you're a realtor. But if you don't talk about real estate and just look to add value, people will take that in a much better way.
I agree. I appreciate that perspective very much. Very
You're
much
awesome,
for me.
Dion. Like, this is such a great
Thanks.
call. Like, this is my first time joining one of your calls, and you're incredible.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you, Rami. I appreciate that. One of the things, just to that point, we talked about newsletters, creating newsletters in KV Core in one of our last training modules in the fall. And I'll tell you, that's one of the big things that I talk about there, is that don't feel like your newsletter has to be completely real estate driven. Talk about things that are happening in your community. Talk about to Rami's point, your favorite restaurant or your favorite recipe, or, best winery to visit, best children's activity, how to spend your Thanksgiving weekend, all those things. Deliver meaningful content to people that they're curious and interested in, and they're very subtly being reminded of what you do and what service you can provide. So having said that, I think we've kicked off our Windows to Wealth series, with a great start today. I hope you found something, you learned something without having to put hours and hours of research into it. So maybe you take these 90 minutes and you do find that nugget that says, I want to go learn a little bit more about this, or maybe you go the other way and say, you know what, I'm glad I spent this 90 minutes so that I didn't go and spend the 10 hours getting the training, because I don't think that this appeals to me. So what I hope that you'll do is come back with us next Wednesday, 10 a.m. Remember, we're going to talk about revenue share, and bring your questions, bring your concerns, bring your inhibitions. If there are things that you're not comfortable talking about or just want to learn more about, we're going to tackle them next week and get you in a position to feel comfortable knowing what this platform is. It's just one more component of many that, in my opinion, make this brokerage super special. So thank you so much, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful Wednesday. One last reminder, if you didn't already, drop your email into the chat to get on the email distribution, and have a great rest of the week, and Happy New Year.
Diana, I'm beyond thank you. Beyond. This
You're the
is
best.
amazing. Thank you.
You're all.
so
I
much.
enjoy everybody's participation very much. Thank you so much for being here today, and have a wonderful one.
You too,
Thank
bye.
you. Bye-bye.